The grocery bags cut into my palms as I pushed through the apartment door, breath coming hard after climbing those damn stairs. February sun slanted through the kitchen blinds, making dust motes dance in the air. Usually that golden light made me smile. Not today. Amber sat at my kitchen table, my table that I'd bought at a yard sale 15 years back, filing her nails like she was getting ready for the Met Gala. Her bare feet were propped up on the chair next to her, the one with the embroidered cushion I'd made myself. The sharp chemical smell of nail polish remover filled the whole space. She didn't even glance up when she spoke. "Hey, Diana, fix me something to eat while you're standing there." I set the bags down slow, feeling the ache in my shoulders from hauling milk, bread, and all the rest up 3 flights. The plastic had left angry red welts across my fingers. "Excuse me?" The word came out flat. "You heard me. Still filing. Make me a sandwich or something. Nothing fancy, just turkey and Swiss. And use the good deli meat this time, not that processed garbage you buy for yourself." Something cold settled in my chest. But this time, instead of arguing, I felt something else. Clarity. Like a fog lifting. Because what Amber didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I'd been recording everything for the past 2 weeks. Every conversation, every demand, every insult. My late husband, James, had been a private investigator before the cancer took him. He'd taught me things. How to document. How to build a case, how to protect yourself when you see trouble coming. And I'd seen this trouble coming from miles away. "Amber, I just walked in the door. I need to put these groceries away first." Now she looked up. That look, the one that made me feel like something she'd scraped off her shoe. "What's the big deal? You're literally standing right there. I'm doing my nails, in case you can't tell." I pulled out my phone, casually, like I was checking messages. But I tapped the record button on the app James had installed years ago. The one that looked like a calculator, but captured crystal clear audio. "The big deal," I said calmly, "is that this is my apartment, and I'm tired of being treated like hired help." Amber spread her fingers flat on the table to let the polish dry. "Look, Diana, you need to understand something. You're living in our apartment now. Ryan and I are letting you stay here because you help out. That's just how it works." Letting me stay. I kept my face neutral, but inside I was smiling because that sentence, that specific phrasing, was exactly what my attorney had told me to get on recording. "Interesting perspective," I said, still recording, "since my name is the only one on the lease, and I've paid every penny of rent for 9 months straight." Amber stood up, walked toward me. She was 26, tall, with that confident stride of someone who'd never really struggled. "Ryan and I have been talking." She stopped close enough that I could smell her perfume, something expensive that probably came from my credit card. "Here's the deal, Diana. You live in our apartment, you help us out, so when I ask you to do something, you do it. No attitude, no pushback. Or you can find somewhere else to live." "Our apartment," Ryan echoed, stepping beside his wife. "Mom, you need to decide right now. Either you help Amber when she needs it, or you pack your stuff and go. Those are your options." Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I looked at my son, keeping my expression carefully neutral. "All right," I said quietly. Amber smiled, thinking she'd won. "Good. Now, about that sandwich." "I'll pack." Her smile died. Ryan's mouth opened instantly. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't running away defeated. I was executing a plan I'd been preparing for 3 weeks, ever since my old friend Linda Martinez, a retired paralegal, had helped me understand exactly what Amber and Ryan were trying to do. They weren't just using me, they were building a case for squatters' rights, planning to claim my apartment as their legal residence, then force me out through the courts. I'd found the paperwork hidden in Ryan's desk drawer 2 weeks ago. Legal forms, notes about tenancy laws, a timeline showing they'd been planning this for months. But 2 could play that game. I turned toward the hallway, leaving those grocery bags right where they sat. Behind me, I heard Amber gasp and Ryan whisper, "Mom, wait." But I was already walking toward my bedroom, my feet steady on the carpet. The suitcase came down from the closet shelf with a soft thud. But this time, I wasn't packing like a beaten woman. I was packing like a chess player, making a strategic retreat. Because what they didn't know was that I'd already moved my most valuable possessions out of this apartment 2 weeks ago. The jewelry James had given me, the silver my mother left me, important documents, family photos, all of it was safely stored in a climate-controlled unit crosstown. What James had been smart with money, very smart. And when he died, he'd left me with more than just memories. He'd left me with nest eggs hidden in places our son would never think to look. I packed methodically. Clothes I didn't care about, toiletries I could replace. The photo of James on my nightstand, that was a copy. The original was already safe. From the living room came urgent whispers, Amber's voice climbing higher, Ryan's getting more panicked. When I wheeled my suitcase down that hallway 20 minutes later, they'd stopped talking. Amber had sat back down at the table, but she looked different now, smaller, worried. Ryan stood by the kitchen counter with his arms crossed, trying for angry but landing on confused. "Mom, come on," Ryan said as I headed for the door. "Don't be dramatic. We can talk about this." I stopped, turned to face them both. This was the moment, the one I'd been preparing for. "Ryan, do you remember what your father used to say about respect?" He blinked, caught off guard. "What?"
He said respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn. And once you lose it, you have to work twice as hard to get it back. I adjusted my grip on the suitcase handle. You two have a lot of work ahead of you. What's that supposed to mean? Amber's voice had a sharp edge of panic now. I smiled then. Not a warm smile. A knowing smile. It means you should probably check your mail carefully over the next few days and maybe get a lawyer, a good one. I walked out before they could respond, leaving them standing there with confusion written all over their faces. My Toyota started right up, reliable as sunrise. But instead of driving to some depressing extended stay hotel, I drove to 428 Maple Grove Lane. My new house. It was small, but perfect. 2 bedrooms, a real kitchen, a garden out back. The widow who'd sold it to me had moved to Arizona to be near her daughter, and she'd given me a deal that was almost too good to be true because she'd known James, respected him, and wanted to help his wife. I pulled into my own driveway, my own house, fully paid for, no mortgage, no landlord, mine. The moving truck I'd hired was scheduled to arrive tomorrow with all my things from the storage unit. But tonight I had a sleeping bag, some basic supplies, and most importantly, peace and quiet. I set up my laptop on the kitchen counter and opened my email. 3 new messages waiting. The first was from Linda Martinez, my paralegal friend. Diana, documents are filed. The eviction notice will be served tomorrow morning. Judge Harrison approved everything. You were smart to document the squatter's right paperwork you found. That changed everything. Call me tomorrow. Linda. The second was from my attorney, Robert Chin. Mrs. Brennan, criminal fraud charges have been filed against Amber Thompson based on the evidence you provided. Detective Morrison will contact you Monday to discuss the investigation. The credit card companies have been notified. Well done. Robert Chin, Esquire. The third was from someone I didn't recognize immediately. Then I remembered. Sarah Jenkins from the car dealership. Diana. That woman you asked about, Amber Thompson, she was here again today asking about a BMW X5.
told her the monthly payments would be $847. She said that wouldn't be a problem because her mother-in-law is loaded and doesn't know how to use technology. Thought you should know. I have her sign credit application if you need it. She listed your address as her residence. Sarah. I sat back in my folding chair, looking around my empty but peaceful kitchen. They had no idea what was coming. They thought I was a broken old woman running away to lick her wounds. They were about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating people. I pulled up my phone and checked the recording from earlier. Crystal clear, every word, every threat, every ultimatum. Then I opened my special email folder, the one labeled Evidence. Inside were dozens of files I'd been collecting for weeks. Screenshots of Amber's Facebook posts showing expensive purchases while claiming poverty. Bank statements showing exactly where my money went. The hidden legal documents about squatters' rights I'd photographed. Emails between Amber and Ryan discussing their plan. Credit card statements showing fraudulent returns. Text messages I'd recovered from Ryan's old phone. Thank you, James, for teaching me about cloud backups. But the crown jewel, the thing they definitely didn't know about, was the private investigator I'd hired 3 weeks ago. Marcus Webb had been James's partner back in the day. When I'd called him, explained the situation, he'd agreed to help immediately. And what Marcus had discovered was explosive. Amber wasn't just a lazy, entitled daughter-in-law. She was a professional con artist with a history. This wasn't her first rodeo. Marcus had found 2 previous relationships where Amber had done exactly the same thing. Move in with a man and his family, establish residency, steal money, then try to claim squatters' rights or extort payments to leave. One family in Ohio, another in Kentucky. She'd never been prosecuted because the victims had been too embarrassed or scared to press charges. They just paid her to go away. But I wasn't going to pay her anything. I was going to make sure she faced consequences for the first time in her miserable life. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. This isn't over, old lady. You'll regret this. I smiled and immediately forwarded it to Detective Morrison with a note. Threat received 8:47 p.m. Please add to case file. Then I blocked the number and made myself a cup of tea. Tomorrow would bring chaos to their doorstep. But tonight I was going to sleep peacefully in my own house on my own terms for the first time in 9 months. The war had just begun, and they brought a knife to a gunfight. Part 2. The Counterattack. Wednesday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 23 text messages, none of which I answered. Instead, I got dressed, had coffee on my back porch overlooking the garden, and waited for the phone call I knew was coming. At 9:47 a.m., my phone rang. Linda Martinez. Diana, it's done. The sheriff served them the eviction notice at 8:30 this morning. How'd they take it? Linda's laugh was sharp. According to Deputy Williams, there was a lot of screaming, mostly from Amber. She tried to claim they had rights to the apartment. The deputy explained that since you're the sole leaseholder and they never paid rent or utilities, they have zero legal standing. They have 30 days to vacate. Perfect. There's more. Amber tried to call the landlord to complain about you. Mr. Peterson informed her that you'd already paid 3 months' rent in advance and given him notice that you were terminating the lease. He's actually grateful, said he was worried about them trashing the place after you left. I smiled into my coffee. Anything else? Oh, you'll love this. Detective Morrison showed up right as the deputy was leaving. Amber tried to refuse to talk to her, The detective explained that wasn't really an option when there's evidence of credit card fraud. She served Amber with a criminal summons to appear in court next month. Beautiful. Diana, Linda's voice softened. Are you sure you want to go this hard? Once the criminal charges start moving forward, there's no taking it back. I thought about that for a long moment. Thought about all the years I worked double shifts to give Ryan opportunities I never had. Thought about the sacrifices James and I had made. Thought about being treated like a servant in my own home. I'm sure, I said firmly. She's done this before, Linda. If I don't stop her, she'll just do it to someone else. Done it before? What do you mean?
What Ryan hasn't told you, 1, Amber has been using my credit card to purchase expensive items and return them for cash, approximately $900 in fraudulent transactions. Criminal charges have been filed, police reports attached. 2, I found documents in Ryan's desk showing they were planning to claim squatters' rights to force me out of my apartment and take it over legally. Photos attached. 3, Amber is not pregnant. I called her doctor's office. She's not a patient there. The pregnancy was a manipulation tactic. Amber's real name is Amber Sue Larson. She has an active warrant in Nebraska for check fraud. She's done this to at least 2 other families. Public records attached. I didn't abandon my son. I stopped enabling a con artist who was systematically stealing from me while treating me like a servant. Ryan had many chances to stand up for his mother. He chose his wife instead. Now they both get to face the consequences of their choices. I'm sharing this not out of revenge, but to warn other families. People like Amber target the elderly and vulnerable. They use love and family bonds as weapons. Don't let it happen to you. I attached 17 documents, bank statements with names redacted except where relevant, police reports, the squatters' rights paperwork, Marcus Webb's background check on Amber, everything. Then I hit post and turned off my phone. I didn't want to see the fallout. Not yet. Instead, I went into my garden and planted tomatoes, worked the soil with my hands, let the spring sunshine warm my face. James used to say that revenge was a dish best served with documentation. I was serving up a feast. By Friday morning, my post had been shared 473 times. The comments section was a war zone. Half the people were supportive. Good for you, Diana. More parents need to enforce boundaries like this. I can't believe they tried to scam their own mother. Disgusting. That warrant from Nebraska is real. I looked it up. This Amber woman is a career criminal. But the other half were brutal. What kind of mother abandons her own son? This is elder abuse in reverse. We're only hearing one side of the story. There's always 2 sides. This is a private family matter that shouldn't be aired on social media. And then there were Ryan's friends rallying around him. I've known Ryan for years. He's a good guy. His mom is clearly having some kind of breakdown. Amber is 7 weeks pregnant. I've seen her morning sickness myself. Diana is lying. This is financial abuse. Diana used money to control them, and now she's trying to destroy their lives for standing up to her. I read through it all, sipping my coffee, feeling oddly calm. Because I knew something they didn't. The truth always comes out eventually, and I had receipts for everything. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. I answered. Mrs. Brennan, this is Sergeant Patricia Rodriguez from the Nebraska State Police. We received information from a private investigator named Marcus Webb regarding the whereabouts of Amber Sue Larson. Yes, that was my investigator. She's been using the name Amber Thompson. We're aware. We've been in contact with the Millbrook Police Department. Detective Morrison has agreed to assist with the arrest. We'll be executing the warrant next week. My stomach dropped. Arrest? I thought it was just check fraud. Ma'am, the warrant is for felony fraud. She scammed an elderly couple out of $38,000. We've been looking for her for 3 years. $38,000.
Amber wasn't just a small-time con artist, she was a serious criminal. What happens to my son? I asked quietly. Is he involved? That's under investigation. But based on the timeline, it appears he met her after the Nebraska incident. He may be another victim, or he may be complicit. We won't know until we interview him. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time. Ryan might go to prison, not just lose his apartment or his wife, actually go to prison. And I had set this in motion. Part of me felt vindicated. They treated me terribly. They tried to steal from me. They deserved consequences. But part of me, the mother part, felt sick. I called Robert Chen, my attorney. Robert, I need to know something. If Ryan was manipulated by Amber, if he didn't know about her past, can we protect him somehow? Deanna, we've been over this. You can't protect him from the consequences of his own choices. But what if he's a victim too? Robert sighed. Then he needs to cooperate with the police, testify against Amber, and hope for leniency. But that's his decision to make. You can't make it for him. Can I talk to him before the arrest? I strongly advise against that. Anything you say could complicate the criminal case. I don't care about complicating the case. He's still my son. Long pause. One conversation, recorded in a public place with me present. Those are my conditions. Deal. Saturday afternoon, I met Ryan at the diner on Maple Street, the same place I'd met Linda a week ago. Felt like a lifetime. Robert Chen sat 2 tables away, close enough to intervene if needed, but far enough to give us privacy. Ryan looked terrible. He'd lost weight, his eyes were hollow, his hands shook as he held his coffee cup. "Mom?" he said quietly when I sat down. "I don't even know where to start." Start with the truth, Ryan. That's all I want. The real truth, Ryan, not another manipulation. He nodded, staring into his coffee. I didn't know about Amber's past, about the warrant, about any of it. I swear to God, Mom, I had no idea. But you knew about the squatters' rights plan. I found the paperwork in your desk. His face crumpled. That was... Amber said it was just research, that we needed to protect ourselves in case you suddenly decided to kick us out. She made it sound reasonable, like we were just being careful. And the ultimatum? The sandwich incident? I was an idiot. Tears started flowing. She'd been working on me for weeks, saying you were trying to control our lives, that you didn't respect her, that you treated her like a child. By the time that day happened, I was so twisted up, I actually believed her. Ryan, I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Did you help her steal from my credit cards? No, his head snapped up. I found out about that 2 days after you left. I confronted her about it, and she told me it was just a few returns, no big deal. She said you'd never even notice. He wiped his eyes. I didn't know it was $900. I didn't know she'd done it to other families. I didn't know any of it until your Facebook post. I studied his face. James had taught me how to read people, how to spot lies. Ryan was telling the truth. He'd been conned just like I had, maybe even worse, because he'd fallen in love with the con artist.
What are you going to do? I asked gently. Detective Morrison wants me to come in Monday for an interview. My attorney, the one I hired, not the one Amber found, says I should cooperate fully. Tell them everything I know. He looked up at me with those same eyes I'd seen on a 5-year-old asking for one more bedtime story. Mom, I'm so sorry. For all of it. For choosing her over you. For the ultimatum. For being so blind and stupid. Sorry doesn't fix what's broken, Ryan. I know, but I want to try, if you'll let me. I sat back, thinking about everything that had happened. The pain, the betrayal, the deliberate cruelty. But also thinking about the boy who used to bring me flowers. The teenager who'd cried in my arms when his dad died. The young man who'd promised to always take care of me. That person was still in there somewhere, under all the mistakes and bad choices. "Here's what's going to happen," I said finally. "You're going to cooperate with the police completely. You're going to testify against Amber if they need you to, and you're going to get therapy to figure out how someone manipulated you so thoroughly." He nodded quickly. "I will, all of it. And then, maybe, after you've done the work, after you've proven you've actually changed, we can start rebuilding. Slowly, with boundaries." "Thank you, Mom. Thank you so—" "I'm not finished." My voice went hard. "If you ever side with someone against me like that again, we're done. Permanently. No second chances. Do you understand?" "Yes, absolutely, I understand." "And Ryan, you're paying me back. Every penny. Not all at once. I know you don't have the money, but we're setting up a payment plan. Because that money represented my retirement security, and I need it back. Of course, whatever you need. I'll get a second job. I'll do whatever it takes." We sat there for a while longer, not saying much, just existing in the same space without hostility for the first time in weeks. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. The arrest happened Tuesday morning at 6:47 a.m. Linda called me with the news at 7:15. "Diana, Amber was arrested about 20 minutes ago at the apartment. Nebraska warrant plus local fraud charges. She put up a fight, tried to run out the back door. They had to physically restrain her." "Was Ryan there?" "According to my source at the police department, Ryan let them in willingly. He's cooperating fully, gave them access to Amber's computer, her phone records, everything." "Good." "There's something else. When they searched the apartment, they found over $12,000 in cash hidden in a vent. Amber had been planning to run." $12,000, stolen from who knows how many victims. What happens now? Extradition hearing for the Nebraska warrant, then local prosecution for the fraud charges against you. And Diana, the Nebraska DA wants to talk to you. Apparently you're the first victim who's actually fought back. They want your help building a pattern case. Over the next 2 weeks, the story exploded. Local news picked it up first. Elderly woman exposes daughter-in-law's criminal past. Then regional news. Multi-state con artist arrested after victim fights back. Then somehow it went national. Grandmother's Facebook post leads to career criminal's arrest. I did 3 interviews, one with the local paper, one with a regional news station, and one with a national morning show that flew me to New York. Each time, I told the same story. Not to humiliate Ryan, not to seek revenge, but to warn other families. "People like Amber target the vulnerable," I said on the morning show. "They use love as a weapon. They isolate you from reality. And by the time you realize what's happening, they've already taken so much." The host nodded sympathetically. "What would you say to other people who might be in similar situations?" "Document everything. Trust your instincts. And understand that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. Real family doesn't give you ultimatums. Real love doesn't come with conditions." After the interview aired, my Facebook post was shared over 10,000 times, and my inbox filled up with messages, hundreds of them, from other grandparents, other parents, other victims of financial abuse and manipulation. "Thank you for speaking up. My daughter's boyfriend has been doing the same thing to me. I thought I was crazy for feeling used by my own son. Your story helped me see I'm not alone. Because of you, I found the courage to cut off my nephew who's been stealing from me for years." I read every single message, and I responded to as many as I could.
because James had taught me something important. The truth might hurt, but it also heals. 3 months later, I stood in a courtroom watching Amber Sue Larson being sentenced. 18 months in prison for the Nebraska charges, another 12 months for the fraud charges against me, to be served consecutively. 2.5 years total. She'd taken a plea deal to avoid trial, and part of that deal was restitution. She had to pay back everyone she'd stolen from. The judge looked down at her with complete contempt. "Ms. Larson, you've preyed on vulnerable people for years. You've used the sacred bonds of family as weapons. This sentence is more than just punishment. It's a message that this behavior will not be tolerated." Amber's public defender whispered something to her. She stood, looking at me.
Her eyes held pure hatred. "You destroyed my life," she said, her voice shaking. "You couldn't just let us be happy. You had to ruin everything." The judge banged his gavel. "Miss Larson, you're out of order." But she kept going. "I hope you're happy, Diana. You got what you wanted. Your precious son hates me now. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. But you know what? You're the real monster. What kind of mother does this to her own family? That's enough." The judge's voice thundered through the courtroom. "One more word and I'll add contempt charges. Bailiff, remove the defendant." As they led Amber away in handcuffs, she screamed over her shoulder, "This isn't over. You'll regret this." I sat there calmly, watching her disappear through the side door. Ryan sat 3 rows behind me. He didn't try to defend her, didn't call out, just sat there with tears streaming down his face. After the hearing, we walked out of the courthouse together into the bright May sunshine. "You okay?" I asked him. He shook his head. "I loved her, Mom. Even knowing everything she did, part of me still, I don't know, I feel like an idiot." "You're not an idiot. You were targeted by a professional. It could have happened to anyone." "But it didn't happen to anyone. It happened to me, and I let it hurt you." He stopped walking, turned to face me. "I've been going to therapy 3 times a week. Dr. Patterson says I have some kind of trauma bond with Amber, that she used psychological manipulation techniques that are really hard to resist." "That's good, that you're getting help." "I got a second job, working overnight stocking shelves at Morrison's. Between that and the bookstore, I'm pulling about 55 hours a week." He pulled an envelope from his pocket. "This is my first payment. $300. I know it's not much compared to what I owe, but—" "Ryan." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "I appreciate this. I really do. But I want you to know something. The money isn't what matters most to me." "Then what does?" "That you learned something, that you understand why what happened was wrong, that you will never let someone manipulate you like that again." I looked at my son, really looked at him. He'd lost weight, but he looked healthier somehow, clearer. "And that you'll never, never side with someone against me like that again. Never, I swear." He wiped his eyes. "Mom, I know it's going to take time, years maybe, but I want to rebuild our relationship. I want to be the son you deserve." "Then prove it. Not with words, with actions. Show me over time." "I will." We stood there on the courthouse steps, and for the first time in months, I hugged my son. It wasn't like before. The trust wasn't fully there yet. The wounds were still fresh. But it was something. 6 months after Amber's sentencing, I was working in my garden when a car pulled into my driveway. I didn't recognize it at first. A modest, used Honda, nothing fancy. Then Ryan got out, and I saw he was carrying a box. "Hey, Mom, got a minute?" I wiped my hands on my gardening apron and walked over. "What's all this?" "Payment number 6. $300 in cash, plus I wanted to show you something." He pulled out a folder. Inside were pay stubs, bank statements, and receipts. "I've been tracking every penny, just like you taught me.
The bookstore gave me a promotion to assistant manager, the overnight stocking job is paying for my therapy, and I've been saving everything else to pay you back. I flipped through the documents. He'd been meticulous. Every expense documented, every payment tracked. This is good work, Ryan. There's something else. He looked nervous. I've been seeing someone. Nothing serious yet. We've only been on a few dates. But I wanted to tell you about her before things get more serious. Her name's Emma. She's a teacher at the elementary school. I met her at a community volunteering event. My protective instincts flared immediately. And I've been completely honest with her about everything. About Amber, about what I did to you, about the fraud case. I told her on our second date because I didn't want there to be any secrets. He met my eyes. She appreciated the honesty, said it showed I'd learned from my mistakes. Smart woman. Would you want to meet her? No pressure. I know it's probably too soon, but she asked about you and I thought maybe I'd like that, I said, surprising myself. But Ryan, take it slow, really, really slow. Don't rush into anything. I'm not. We're taking our time, getting to know each other as friends first. Dr. Patterson says that's healthy, building a relationship on friendship instead of intensity. Your therapist is right. Ryan helped me finish the gardening, and we talked about simple things. His job, my house, the tomatoes that were finally starting to ripen. It felt almost normal. Not the way it used to be. That innocent trust was gone forever. But a new kind of normal. One built on honesty and accountability instead of blind faith. As he was leaving, he turned back. Mom, thank you for not giving up on me completely. A lot of parents would have. You're my son. I'll always love you. But love doesn't mean accepting bad behavior. You understand the difference now? I do. Finally. 1 year after the sandwich incident that started everything, I was invited to speak at a community forum about elder financial abuse. The turnout was huge. Over 200 people packed into the community center auditorium. I stood at the podium, looking out at all those faces, and told my story. Not just the facts, but the emotions, the betrayal, the gaslighting. The moment I realized I had to choose between my dignity and my son's approval. The hardest part wasn't leaving. The hardest part was accepting that the people I loved were capable of treating me that way, that my own son would give me an ultimatum instead of defending me. A hand went up in the audience. An elderly man, probably in his 80s. How did you find the strength to fight back? He asked. My grandson has been stealing from me for 3 years, and I can't bring myself to report it. He's family. I nodded, understanding completely. That's exactly what people like Amber count on. They weaponize our love. They use family bonds as shields. I paused, choosing my words carefully. But here's what I learned. Enabling someone's bad behavior isn't love. It's fear. Fear of confrontation. Fear of being alone. Fear of being seen as a bad parent or grandparent. But how do you overcome that fear? You remember that real love includes accountability, that protecting someone from consequences isn't protecting them at all. It's ensuring they'll keep hurting people. I looked directly at him. Your grandson doesn't need your money. He needs to face reality, and you don't need to set yourself on fire to keep him warm.
The audience applauded. Several people were crying. After the speech, dozens of people came up to talk to me, to share their own stories, to ask for advice. An older woman grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. My daughter's been doing this to me for 10 years, stealing, lying, demanding money. I kept giving in because I was afraid of losing her. And now? Now I realize I already lost her. The daughter I thought I had doesn't exist. She's a fiction I created to avoid facing reality. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Because of your story, I filed a police report yesterday. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It gets easier, I promised her.
Not right away, but eventually. Linda Martinez found me afterward carrying 2 cups of coffee. Hell of a speech, Diana. You should write a book. A book? I laughed. Who'd want to read about my family drama? Are you kidding? After that Facebook post went viral, after the news coverage, publishers would line up. She handed me a coffee. Think about it. You could help thousands of people who are going through the same thing. I sipped my coffee, considering it. Maybe she was right. Maybe my story could help others find the courage to set boundaries. I'll think about it, I said finally. 18 months after everything began, I received a letter from prison. Amber's handwriting. My first instinct was to throw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Dear Diana, I've been in prison for 9 months now. Plenty of time to think about what I did. My therapist here says I have something called antisocial personality disorder. Basically, I'm wired wrong. I don't feel empathy the way normal people do. Other people are just tools to me, resources. I'm not writing to apologize. My therapist says I'm not capable of real remorse. I can understand intellectually that I hurt you, but I don't feel it emotionally. But I can understand cause and effect. I can understand that my actions had consequences. You were the first Mark who ever fought back. The first one who didn't just roll over and take it. Part of me hates you for that. But another part, the part that's trying to get better, respects it. I targeted you because you seemed weak, loving, easy to manipulate. I never expected you to have teeth. My therapist wants me to take accountability, so here it is. I used you. I used Ryan. I used everyone I ever got close to, and I did it without guilt, because that's how I'm built. I'm probably not going to change. My therapist says people like me rarely do. But at least now I'm stuck in here where I can't hurt anyone else for a while. Ryan writes to me sometimes. Did you know that? He's trying to forgive me or some bullshit. I told him to stop, that I'm not worth forgiving, that he should focus on rebuilding his relationship with you. Anyway, this isn't an apology. It's just information. Do with it what you will. I read the letter 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in my evidence file. Even from prison, Amber was trying to manipulate. The whole letter was designed to sound self-aware while actually making excuses. But one part rang true. Ryan had been writing to her. I called him that evening. Are you still in contact with Amber? Silence on the line. Then, she told you? She wrote me a letter. Ryan, why are you writing to her? I don't know. Closure, maybe? I keep thinking if I can just understand why she did it, it'll hurt less. He sighed heavily. Dr. Patterson says it's part of my healing process, that I need to accept what happened before I can move past it. And what does Amber say when you write to her? Usually tells me to stop, that I'm wasting my time, that she's never going to be who I wanted her to be. A bitter laugh. Even when she's being honest, she's still hurting me. Ryan, you need to stop. Cut all contact. She's toxic, and every letter you send gives her power over you. I know. You're right. I'll stop. Promise me? I promise. After we hung up, I sat on my porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. My son was still struggling, still processing, still healing. But he was trying. That had to count for something. 2 years after the sandwich incident, I published my book. It was called Setting Boundaries: How I Stopped Enabling and Started Living. Linda had been right. Publishers were interested, very interested.
the book became a bestseller in the self-help category. Not because it was particularly well written. I'm a retired waitress, not a professional author. But because it told a truth that thousands of people needed to hear. The reviews were overwhelming. This book saved my relationship with my daughter. I finally understood that helping her meant letting her fail. Diana Brennan's story gave me the courage to report my son's theft. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone. Every parent of adult children should read this book. Of course, there were negative reviews. Heartless woman who abandoned her family for money. This is propaganda against family values. She's profiting from destroying her son's life. I read them all and felt nothing. Just a distant observation that people would believe what they wanted to believe. The book tour was exhausting but rewarding. 30 cities in 45 days. Meeting survivors, hearing stories, watching people have breakthrough moments. In Denver, a mother told me she'd finally evicted her 40-year-old son who'd been stealing from her for a decade. In Atlanta, a grandfather shared that he'd cut off his granddaughter's credit card access and she'd actually gotten a job. In Seattle, a whole support group showed up to the reading, 12 people who were all dealing with financial abuse from family members. You made us feel less alone, less crazy. That's when I realized the book wasn't really about me and Ryan and Amber. It was about the thousands of people suffering in silence, thinking they were the only ones going through it. Ryan came to my book signing in Millbrook. He waited until the line had dwindled, then approached the table with a copy of the book. Would you sign it? He asked quietly. You haven't read it yet. I wanted to. But I was scared. Scared of what you'd written about me. He set the book down. But Dr. Patterson says I need to face it, need to understand your perspective. I opened the book to the dedication page. For James, who taught me that love and accountability aren't opposites. And for Ryan, who I hope will one day understand that the greatest gift I ever gave him was letting him face consequences. Ryan read it, his eyes filling with tears. You dedicated it to me? You're a huge part of this story. The cautionary tale, yes, but also the hope at the end, because you're doing the work. You're changing. Am I? Sometimes I'm not sure. I still have dreams about Amber, still question every relationship, still feel like an idiot for not seeing through her. That's trauma. It takes time. I signed the title page. To Ryan, keep growing. Keep healing. I'm proud of the man you're becoming. Love, Mom. He read my inscription and broke down completely right there in the bookstore. I came around the table and held him while he cried. Ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep. I'm so sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. I know, and I forgive you. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. We're building something new now, something healthier. 3 years after everything began, Ryan got married. Not to Amber, obviously, to Emma, the elementary school teacher. He asked me 6 months before the wedding, Mom, would you come? Would you be there? Of course I'll be there. Even after everything? Ryan, you've spent 3 years proving you've changed. You've paid back every penny you owed me. You've gone to therapy consistently. You've built a healthy relationship based on honesty. I smiled. Yes, I'll be at your wedding. The wedding was small, just 40 people. Nothing like the elaborate affair I paid for when he married Amber. This time, Ryan and Emma paid for everything themselves. A simple ceremony in a park, a reception at a local restaurant, homemade decorations. It was perfect. When Ryan said his vows, he added something unexpected. Emma,
I promise to never let anyone come between us and the people who truly love us. I promise to always prioritize family, real family, the kind built on respect and honesty. I promise to be the partner you deserve and the son my mother deserved all along. I cried, couldn't help it. After the ceremony, Emma found me. Mrs. Brennan, thank you for giving Ryan a second chance. I know what happened. He's told me everything, and I've seen how hard he's worked to become better. He has worked hard. That's why I'm here. I want you to know I'll never let him treat you that way again. If he ever starts falling into old patterns, I'll call him out immediately. She squeezed my hand. You're not just getting your son back. You're getting a daughter-in-law who actually respects you. Thank you, Emma. That means everything. 5 years after the sandwich incident that started it all, I received another letter. This one from Amber's parole officer. Dear Mrs. Brennan, I'm writing to inform you that Amber Sue Larson has been released from prison after serving her full sentence. As part of her parole conditions, she is prohibited from contacting you or any member of your family. However, I wanted to make you aware that Ms. Larson has expressed interest in making amends to her victims. This is part of a 12-step program she's participating in. You are under no obligation to meet with her or respond to any communication. This letter is simply for your information and safety. If she violates the no-contact order, please report it immediately. Officer Michael Stevens. I stared at the letter for a long time. Amber was out, back in the world, potentially dangerous again. I called Detective Morrison, who'd handled the original case. Detective, I got a letter from Amber's parole officer. Should I be worried? Honestly, I'd keep your guard up. She completed the prison programs, said all the right things, but, he paused, people like Amber don't really change, Diana. They just get better at hiding. So, what should I do? What you've always done. Document everything, trust your instincts, and don't let guilt or obligation make you vulnerable. 2 weeks later, I was at the grocery store when I saw her. Amber. She looked different, harder. Prison had aged her, but her eyes, those calculating eyes, were exactly the same. We made eye contact across the produce section. For a moment, everything stopped. Then, Amber did something unexpected. She nodded slightly, acknowledging me, and walked away. No confrontation, no drama, just a silent acknowledgement that we both knew the truth. I finished my shopping quickly and went home. That night, I called Ryan. I saw Amber today. What? His voice went tight with panic. Did she approach you? Did she say anything? No, she just nodded and left. But Ryan, you need to be careful. She's out, and I don't trust that she's changed. I know. Emma and I have already discussed it. We have a security system now, and if Amber tries to contact me, I'm reporting it to her parole officer immediately. Good, because people like her don't really change. I know, Mom. Dr. Patterson has explained it to me. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I'm not that naive kid anymore. I see her for what she really was.
The ending I want to believe, the Hollywood ending, would have Amber genuinely reformed, changed. Sorry, but that's not how real life works. 6 months after her release, Amber was arrested again. Same pattern, different victim. This time, an elderly widower in Michigan. She'd gotten engaged to his grandson, moved into the house, and started the same con. But this time, the family was ready because they'd read my book. They'd documented everything, built a case, and when they discovered who she really was, they contacted me.
I flew to Michigan and testified at her trial. This is who Amber Larson is, I told the jury. She doesn't con people because she's desperate. She cons them because that's what she does. It's not about money. It's about power, control, the thrill of manipulating people who trust her. The jury convicted her in 3 hours. This time, the sentence was longer, 8 years. And this time, I knew she wouldn't be getting out early for good behavior. 10 years after the sandwich incident, I'm 77 years old. I live in my small house with a garden that's become famous in the neighborhood, tomatoes that win prizes at the county fair, roses that bloom 9 months a year. Ryan and Emma have given me 2 grandchildren, real grandchildren this time, not the fake pregnancy Amber tried to use as manipulation. I see them every week. Ryan and Emma bring the kids over on Sundays. We have dinner together, talk about real things, build genuine memories. Ryan is a different person now. Confident but humble, successful but grounded. He manages 3 bookstores and teaches financial literacy classes at the community center. I want people to understand what I didn't, that being used isn't the same as being loved, that healthy relationships have boundaries, he tells his students. My book has sold over 200,000 copies. I've used the royalties to start a foundation that helps victims of financial elder abuse. We provide legal assistance, therapy referrals, and emergency housing for people escaping abusive family situations. Because I learned something important through all of this. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. The sandwich Amber demanded that day, that ridiculous, trivial sandwich, changed everything. It forced me to see what I'd been ignoring, that I'd been enabling, that I'd been choosing peace over dignity. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it.